folks, well, again, welcome. My name is Kristen, and you've met Prince on the right and Mikey on the left. And, of course, straight ahead is the Cape Fear River. Now, it's too deep for water, these guys. Does anyone see a horse trough nearby? How about that one on your left? Yeah, about 130 years ago. That was state-of-the-art. And originally, it was about 2 feet lower in the ground. And what made it so advanced was that, of course, horses could drink from that top trough there, but dogs could drink from those 2 side cups, and people could drink from an opening in the back with paper cups. It was called an anti-germ cup. Every section had their own independent water supply. That was high-tech in the late 19th century. Hi, guys. It'll be a little bumpy for just a few moments there. Oh, there they are. The troublemakers for my last one. Oh, you made it back. All right. Now, folks, as I mentioned, this is the Cape Fear River on your right. And I can tell you, now we have people who have lived here their entire lives who still don't know why we call it the Cape Fear. You guys know? Well, a couple hundred years ago, ship captains coming up through the mouth of the river would encounter shoals under the water, right? Mountains of sand that would shift back and forth with the current. And the problem was they never knew where they were, hour by hour, which is why you could run aground 20 miles out to sea. It is also why we have over 500 shipwrecks between Wilmington and Cape Hatteras. And for this reason, they came to name it the Cape Fear. And it's got nothing to do with Robert De Niro. Alright, now folks, I want to show you all something. Take a look at what we're writing on right now, all this brick, right? Now it's all original, about 160 years old. It is also what is underneath all 230 blocks of our historic district. Yep, everywhere you see pavement and asphalt, this brick is under it. So, what happened? Well, years ago, the federal government required us to pave over all this brick. And so, what we've been doing for about the past 12 years or so is year over year, street by street, we pick another street, and we pull up all the pavement to reveal all this history right underneath it. Now, it's probably going to take us another 10 years or so, but eventually, we're going to bring all 230 blocks back to the way we look around the mid to late 1800s.
Yeah, the brick road is pretty cool. I like that.
Just laying it all?
Yeah, that'd be some hard work. It's not as smooth, but it seems like it lasts longer than concrete.
Alright, now folks, we're going to head south on Front Street right now, towards one of the oldest residential areas of the city. In fact, on the tour today, I'm going to show you all the oldest historic home in Wilmington. By the way, if you take a look to your left, you see that granite marker on the corner, right? Yeah. Now, if you see these around the city, read it. This one tells you the story about what used to stand right there where that parking lot is. A couple hundred years ago, there was a tavern that stood right there, and every time he'd come down from Virginia through Wilmington, which was quite a bit, George Washington would stop and drink at that tavern right there. Yeah, a lot of the seeds of the American Revolution were planted right here in Wilmington. Now, folks, within 5 blocks of where you all caught the trolley, there are wonderful restaurants and bars, over 40 of them here in the downtown area. I'm going to show you one of my favorites coming up on the left. This is the Post Beer Garden. Terrific German food, great beer. The only problem is every time I go past there, I gotta hang out at the horses really tight. They're draft horses. Oh, they're gonna get worse. Fair warning. But it is fantastic.
There's a horse on the right. Her name is Pixie.
By the way, folks, if you take a look to your right down this alleyway, you see all that cobblestone peeking up through the pavement there?
Oh, yeah?
It's all original. It's about 270 years old. Yeah, even though most of the buildings downtown, as you see them, were built in the late 19th, turn of the 20th century, most of our alleyways are all still lined with original pre-revolutionary cobblestone. Eventually, we're going to restore those as well.
Right. For sure.
All right, now folks, if you take a look on your left, you see this red brick Georgian building right on the corner. Now, this is the Mitchell Anderson House, and this is the oldest historic home in Wilmington right there. That has been standing there since long before we were ever even a nation. It is 286 years old. But I want to show you something. Take a look at that foundation down there. You see that, all that stone and in the wall next to it? Okay. Wilmington sits on top of a giant sand shell. We don't have any stone here. Where do you think it came from? Dallas stone. It came over in the hulls of trading ships from Europe hundreds of years ago. Yeah, before setting sail for Wilmington, they would fill up the hulls of their ships with stone to keep them upright in bad weather. Of course, when they got here, they didn't need them anymore, so they threw them all in the Cape Fear River. They fished them out and used them for foundations, walls, carriageways, you name it. So, if you go through the city and you see any homes or buildings with those kind of stone foundations, chances are those are some of the oldest buildings in the city. Or the country, for that matter.
Neat, huh?
Pretty much.
Right, look down there, that section of the Riverwalk is called Chandler's Wharf. Great restaurants and shopping down there, it's a lot of fun. Now, folks, you recall I mentioned earlier that in the 70s and 80s, we were in kind of rough shape here in the city, but in the decades since, we have come a long way. And I'm going to show you an example. Take a look to your right. See that beautiful pink house up on the hill? Now, that's the Brown Lord House. It was built in 1775. It is the 5th oldest building in Wilmington, but in the early 1980s, it was abandoned, and it was for sale for $25,000. And nobody wanted it. It didn't sell. Today, if that came on the market, you could easily expect to pay between $2.5 and $3 million for it. Oh well. All right, folks, if you will, take a look to your left, and you see this beautiful white house here on the hill. This is the old Baptist Hill House, and you notice it's got a gold plaque. Now that's one of 4 colors the Historic Society issues. And the color of the flag tells you the age of the building. Gold is one of all. It tells you that that home is between 150 and 200 years old. I'm going to point out some of the other plaques to you shortly. In the meantime, though, I do have to point out along your right, these are some of the best restorations in the city. Now, one of my favorites is this blue Victorian coming up here. Absolutely stunning, and I can tell you their view of the Cape Fear River is spectacular. But notice that most of these homes have black plaques out front. Now, the black plaque tells you that the home is between 100 and 150 years old, at least at the time the plaque was placed. The Historic Society does not require you to have these plaques. They're about $500, but again, most of these people have put in so much time, effort, and money into restoring these homes that they want to show them off. They want to educate you. So, one thing I always recommend is take a walking tour of the city. And if you do, stop and read these plaques because they're going to give you living history, right? Not just textbook history. What happened there? What's their story? Just do it from the porch. Don't go, I'm sorry, from the sidewalk. Don't go on the porch. As we turn left onto Nunn Street, folks, take a look straight ahead. You see this house right on the corner. Now, it actually just sold, and homes don't come on the market too often in the historic district. But like so many others, this has some history to it. And years ago, there was a young man who lived in Wilmington, and when he went away to college, he'd come home on vacation, and every time he'd stay in this house with a good friend of his. That was his bedroom, the first on the second floor. And that young man would later grow up to become President Woodrow Wilson. A lot of famous people from Wilmington too, right? Michael Jordan, Charlie Daniels, many, many others. Now, in a moment, we're going to head up to 2nd Street and turn left before we get to the particularly to right. These two homes right here, these are actually undergoing restoration right now. And they have been for about the past 3 years. Probably about another 6 or 7 months. So the transformation we've undergone over the past 40, 50 years is still happening. And the city is extremely strict. Everything from material to style to color has to be approved for historic accuracy. Now, in a moment, you'll get a better view, but when we turn left at 2nd Street, let's take a look straight ahead. See that large white mansion across the street? That was the home of Benjamin Beery. Mr. Beery owns the shipyard down at the river in the mid-1800s. In fact, it was his shipyard that built the ironclad North Carolina during the Civil War. Well, he intentionally built this home 1 story taller than all of his neighbors, not to show off, but so that he could go to the top with his telescope and spy on all of his workers down at the shipyard. Well, today, in fact about 4 months ago, this was named the #1 bed and breakfast in America. It is called the Verandas, and I've stayed there before. It is unbelievable. All antique furnishings, the staff is amazing. And if you get a chance to stay there, do it. You would swear you've gone back in time. All right, now, folks, this is one of my favorite parts of the tour as we go down 2nd Street, because if you look down the street, just ignore the cars and the pavement, and honestly, this is pretty close to what this street would have looked like about 150, 160 years ago. Very little bit of change. By the way, let me ask you folks, have you all been through the city and seen these little driveways to your right? They're everywhere. And you kind of wonder what sort of car could possibly get up these things. But of course, they're not driveways at all. They're all carriageways. Yeah, you would just ride your horse or your buggy right up there. And most of them are lined with ballast stone, too. It's not cobblestone, it's all ballast. All right. Now, folks, I'm going to kind of slow down for a moment because I'd like you to take a look on your left at this cream-colored house here, and in particular, that balcony. Notice you notice anything a little odd about it?
Furniture, maybe?
It seems to be missing something.
Oh.
Yeah, where's the door? Just a big window. Well, years later, they did add a small door to the house, okay, but it's not original. So, what's up with that? Why no door to your own golf course? Doesn't make sense, right? Well, one word. Taxes. Remember, we were a British colony, and in the colonies here at that time, you were taxed based on the number of doors you had in and around your home. The more doors you had, the more tax you paid. And people got tired of that, so they said, fine, whenever possible, we'll get rid of the doors, build bigger windows, and just walk through the windows.
Ooh, look at the succulents. There's got cactuses.
All right, now folks, we are on what's called Tannery Hill, named because this property on your right was the site of the old city tannery, the late 19th century. This is where they turned all the rawhide into finished leather. And it was set back like that, so the tannery could sit atop an old artesian well that still runs to this day. It runs right under the street, comes out at Chandler's Wharf. Yeah, about 150 years ago, this would have been a very fragrant street. Not in a good way.
Right.
All right, folks, I want to show you all something kind of special. Take a look to the right. In a moment, you're going to see two identical homes, except one is blue, one is yellow. Now, neither of these two homes were built in the 1800s. Both of them were built at the height of the Great Depression, early 1930s, and both of them were ordered out of a catalog. Which catalog? Sears. Yeah. From 1908 to 1940, Sears and Roebuck had over 400 different models to choose from. This was the Craftsman bungalow model, and it retailed for $750.
Wow.
So, but, of course, there was a catch. You had to put it together yourself.
Oh.
They would ship it to you by rail in boxcars. Everything you needed, but yes, you had to put it together. Sears sold over 70,000 homes that way, and it's estimated upwards of 70% of them are still standing.
Wow.
My hockey coach had a house like that.
Nice.
Still standing.
Oh yeah.
All right, now folks, we're going to head down towards Market Street. As we do, I'd like to show you something. Take a look at this beautiful white house across the street to your right. Now, there are a couple of things I'd like to show you about this house. The first is that beautiful brick wall that surrounds it. And you probably recognize that design. It's very common throughout the South. And there's a reason for that. Remember, in the 1800s, you had to be pretty creative when it came to ventilating and cooling your home in the hot summer. Well, this wall is one of the ways you do that. Yeah, as wind blows down the street, it can blow through your wall, into your basement or cellar there, and it does a remarkable job of cooling down the home. But the other thing I'd like to show you is that entryway, that big double-door entry. Not uncommon in stately southern homes, but here's my question. In the 1800s, why do you need such a big, wide entry? What are you bringing in there that needs that kind of space?
Horse.
What's that? Well, maybe big furniture, sure. Also, what were women wearing in the 1800s? Yeah, big gowns, right? And that absolutely would have been taken into account when designing the
I
home.
seen it for the size of the
And one other thing, too. What about coffins? Oh, yeah. If a family member passes away, you can't just take them down to the local funeral parlor. We didn't have them. At least not the way we think of them. So you're going to bring that coffin in through the front door, and you're going to place it on the table in your front parlor. And for the duration of the mourning period, that becomes known as the funeral parlor. And that's where we get that. Now, as we head down to Market Street, folks, take a look to your left. See this building right here. About 100 years ago, this was the old Goodyear Tire Company. You roll in with your Model A or your Model T, you get all your tires changed. Those windows down there, those were the old bay doors. Well, today, this happens to be my favorite restaurant in the city. This is Carantelli's. Some of the best Italian food I've ever had. It's all made from scratch, unbelievably.
Say less.
Right. say less, she says. Nice.